Ladies and gentlemen, the PSE Mach 33, we're comparing the EC2 Cam versus the FDS Cam. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Bow Wars. PSE has released their new flagship bows and the Mach 33 is still in the lineup, but they've made some major changes to it. The big talking point is the new cam system, right? Everybody's familiar with the EC2 Cam, incredible cam. Well, they have stepped it up with the new FDS Cam. So we're supposed to get more performance, more speed, and a better shooting bow. But that's what we're gonna test today on this episode of Bow Wars. So we're gonna compare the new FDS Cam to the EC2 Cam. We're gonna compare speeds, we're gonna see how it holds, the value of the bow, and grouping, and see just how well they perform and stack up against each other. So as you'll notice, I've got both of these bows built almost identically, right? Very simplistic, bare, just so we can get a true feel for them. So they both got drop away ripcord rests on them, and then they've both got the Spot Hog Boonie sights. The talking point, right? The FDS Cam, what's different with it? What makes it better? Is it actually better? Well, they've made some major improvements in my opinion on it. One of the major improvements is the actual let-off options, right? So you've got 70 all the way to 85% let-off, but the major change is the actual footer. Everybody's familiar with the EC2 Cam draw stop. It had that little piece of rubber, you would lose it, falls out all the time. Well, they've changed the draw stop. It's better. It's a solid one piece. It's flush. Just a much better upgrade to the cam system. The other big feature with the cam that I really like is they've recessed the post that the cable attaches to. So this just distributes the load on the axle a little bit more evenly, right? So PSE, full draw stability, the bows are based around shootability, performance, speed, all under pressure, right? Well, this just further enhances that. They've also increased the size of the bearings. So everything is set up to work in your favor to make this a more shootable and forgiving platform. So when we look at the specs, how have they changed? It's still the same bow, right? We're on the 33-inch axle-to-axle carbon platform, but the changes come because of the actual cam system. So when you look at it, the brace height on the EC2 Cam was 6 5/8. When you go to the FDS Cam, it's a little bit shorter. It's 6 3/8. We talk about IBO. IBO on the EC2 Cam is 335 feet per second. When you go to the FDS Cam, it is 342 feet per second. And then again, the let-off options that have changed, 80 to 90%, FDS Cam, 70 to 85%. So let's go put these to the test. We're gonna step over the range. We're gonna start off with our speed test. We're gonna shoot these bows at 28.5 inches, 70 pounds with a 418 grain arrow, see what the speeds look like, and then we're gonna talk about the draw cycle, the valley, the post-shot feel, and see how they group. So let's head over to the range. All right, folks, we're gonna start off with the EC2 Cam. So again, this is at 70 pounds, 28.5 inches, and we are shooting a 418 grain arrow, which is my current hunting arrow, the Easton 5.0. If you need them, head over to the website. We sell them all individually. We also offer free cut and glue. Shameless plug. So let's see what this one shoots. All right, we had an average speed of 284.3 feet per second out of the EC2 Cam. Let's go to the new FDS Cam and see how the speeds compare. All right, same thing. FDS Cam, 70 pounds, 28.5 inches with a 418 grain arrow. All right, guys, so we had an average of 293.5 feet per second out of the FDS Cam. So clearly there is way more performance when you go to the FDS Cam. But typically, right, when you gain speed somewhere, you have to sacrifice. It's typically a draw cycle, it's more aggressive, it's not as fun of a shooting bow. I can say, based off shooting these, I have a lot of experience with the PSE Mach series and the EC2 Cam. Going to the FDS Cam is as smooth, if not smoother, than the EC2 Cam, and you get that much more performance. It's honestly incredibly impressive. So, and when we talk about post-shot feel, right, you would think, again, a little bit more speed. How is, what's a post-shot feel like, right? Typically a little bit more vibration. There's no more vibration in the bow, nothing. It's incredible. The bow doesn't, in my opinion, it's no louder. The draw cycle is incredibly smooth, right? The back wall is solid. There's no creep. And the bow is just dead. This is a massive upgrade for the Mach 33. And then We look at it, both these bows are set up at 85%, right? So super, super smooth, but the valley. I think the valley too for this cam is kind of in that sweet spot. It's not so short where the bow wants to run away from you, but it's not so forgiving where it's hard to let the bow down. Obviously you can manipulate holding weight with let off. These are at 85%, but at 85%, these feel fantastic. I think it's, for a bow hunter, for most, I think it's right in that sweet spot. And then again, we go and we talk about how does the bow hold. It's rock solid. There's no torque whatsoever in this riser. Yeah, this thing is an absolute massive upgrade. I think I may have to be going to the new FDS cam for this. It's incredible. You just gain that much more. And then, you know, the thing that I really like about it, the other upgrade, is the recessed post where the cable attaches to the cam. It just, again, helps with the shootability of that bow and reducing hand torque within the riser. And which is massive, right? It's a major part for bow hunters because, you know, when you're in that situation and, you know, hormones are dumping, you're excited, we don't always make the perfect shot. Sometimes we grip the riser a little bit too much, but it's hard to even induce any torque in this riser. Yeah, this thing is fantastic feeling. All right, I mean, the EC2 Cam is awesome, right? It's incredibly smooth. If you've already got it, you don't have to upgrade. But if you want that performance, I mean, the FDS cam is hard to deny. It's just a very, very good feeling cam. And you sacrifice nothing and you gain everything with it. I'm a huge fan already. I'm sold on it. We look at the valley again, 85%. I think the EC2 Cam Valley is a little bit more forgiving than the FDS. You can relax a little bit more on it. Still, like I said, I've been shooting it for the last couple years and absolutely love it. But I think the actual back wall with the new post, I think, is a little bit more solid just by a touch. And I like the Valley a little bit more on the FDS Cam. And same thing, post shot feel with the EC2 Cam. It's all, I mean, it's dead. I mean, it's hard to deny. Either one of the cams is fantastic, but it's just the FDS, you just gain that much more performance. So let's go ahead. I'm going to shoot them at right around 30 yards and just see how they group. If there is a difference as far as hold and staying on target with the FDS versus the EC2 Cam. All right, so there's a reason this bow won Bow of the Year in 2025 and the Mach 31 Bow of the Year in 2024, and it's just the shootability. And one of the things where it really dominates is the accuracy side of things, right? PSE has their full draw stability, where we talk about dynamic brace height, how the cam increases brace height at full draw, and that's what the EC2 Cam does. But the FDS Cam builds on that, so you get a little bit more increased brace height with the FDS Cam, which should help with the overall shootability of the actual bow itself, which you really seem to notice at distance, right? So I'm indoors, obviously we're shooting about 30 yards. I know you guys expect me to shoot the knocks out of these arrows. I'm really not that great of a shooter, but I can manage to get it done. So we're gonna see how they compare for a normal guy that just shoots a bow. So let's see, 30 yards, we're gonna start with the EC2 Cam. I mean, the EC2 Cam just feels fantastic. All right, I really like just the Mach series in general, the EC2 Cam, how the cam rolls over and it rolls over into the back wall nice and smooth. It doesn't roll over and dump. So that is one of the things I really do enjoy about this cam in particular. So let's go down, let's look at the group and see how I actually shot, and then we'll compare that to the FDS Cam. All right, not a bad group at 30 yards. These arrows are pretty close. Like I said, the Mach 33 on its own without any stabilizer or anything just shoots really, really well. But let's compare this group to the FDS Cam and see if there is actually any improvement for myself. All right, on to the newest cam, the FDS Cam. Let's see how well I shoot this. Again, buttery smooth. The back wall is fantastic and it rolls over into the back wall nice and smooth. It doesn't dump. Let's take a look. Again, not a bad group with the FDS Cam. I think very comparable. I think the big difference where you're really gonna be able to tell is whenever you really open up the distance and, you know, step out a little bit further, probably 60+ yards. But I would say, you know, when you go to that FDS Cam, you get a little bit shorter brace height. So you feel like the bow technically should be a little bit less forgiving. But the way PSE builds their cams where the dynamic brace height increases, even when you lose that little bit of brace height with that Mach 33, it still holds and shoots, I think, just as well, if not better, than the EC2 Cam. All right, guys, there you have it. The EC2 Cam versus the FDS Cam. Is the FDS Cam worth the upgrade? It's hard to deny the fact that it just really shines or outshines the EC2 Cam. I think it's definitely worth the upgrade. It's especially worth if you haven't picked up one of the PSE bows, shooting it and comparing it for yourself. And I personally, if moving forward, if I were to get another PSE bow, I would definitely opt for the FDS Cam. You just gain that much more performance. Obviously the speed is much greater and the bow holds, shoots just as well. It's an improved cam design. You got more let-off options. You've got a better draw stop. The cable is recessed into the actual cam for an even more forgiving shooting experience, especially as we get out the distance. It's just a massive upgrade. So I'd be curious to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts? EC2 Cam versus FDS Cam. Are you going with the EC2 Cam or are you gonna make the upgrade to the FDS Cam? And do you think the FDS Cam is superior to the EC2 Cam? So drop some comments, give us some feedback and let us know. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think about the two different cams. And as always, if you need anything archery related, head over to our website, extremeoutfitters.com for all of your archery and bow hunting needs. And we'll see you guys in the next episode of Bow Wars.